Today, I'm switching out the radiator on the 1991 K5 Blazer. So pretty much the issue is it's not holding pressure. Right when I first picked it up on the way home, I screwed on the cap, tightened it down after filling it with some water. And as soon as I tightened down the cap, what would happen is we'd have a couple pinholes showing up. If you come look over on this side, with some light, you see all that gray goop stuff? That is JB weld. So I sanded it down and kind of patched up those pinholes with some JB weld, but that covered up those holes. That did that fine. But as soon as I did that, put the cap on and got the 16 pounds of pressure in there, I got another leak right in here by the radiator fin, another pinhole leak. So I was gonna replace the radiator. I just wanted to get a little bit more use out of this one while I smogged the truck, registered it, kind of made sure it was gonna be reliable before I went and spent $100 on a radiator. But if you look down in here, you can also see there's nothing but rusty water. It's all rusty. So this thing's pretty much rotted out. I think it's the original radiator from 91, so it's not gonna hurt to replace it. The truck's not overheating right now, but the radiator just doesn't hold PSI. So we're gonna go ahead and swap that out, and I'll show you guys how it's done here. So the first step, obviously, would be to drain out all of the coolant. Right now I still have the coolant in it. There's a lower radiator hose right over here on the bottom. If you look down there, climb up here real quick. It's got a little blue piece of tape around it. It is all the way down. You see my hand. Bring the camera over here. Shoot down right there. Right there. This hose. You can see the blue tape on it. This one is attached to the lowest part on the radiator, so we're gonna drain all the coolant from there. It's just a flathead screwdriver to loosen it up. Any old hose clamp is holding that on. So we're gonna go ahead and ditch all the radiator fluid right now, and then I'll show you guys how the fan shroud comes apart and how the radiator actually slides out. Well, as you can see, we missed the drain pan a little. Just a little bit. The idea would be to get all of the fluid in the drain pan, but this was just water anyways. This was water from the garden hose. And that's what I filled it up with because I knew I was replacing it. So it's not antifreeze. It's not going to hurt anything if it gets on the street. But ideally, you want to get it in the bucket. Josh saw it all happen here. Okay, so now we're gonna take off the brackets for the radiator. It's gonna be a 13 millimeter. There's 4 bolts, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Loosen all those up, and then this will kind of slide up and allow you to wiggle the radiator back and forth and free it up. The fan shroud here, mine was just hog-tied to the front of the truck here. Someone used these metal hog ties. I might zip tie it back up. I might use the hog ties. I don't know, but really the 2 bolts for the fan shroud, the upper half of it, are gonna be right on the side down here. So if you take a look, there'll be one right here that I've taken out, and then another one over here. Those are 11 millimeter. The one's right there. Those are gonna be 11 millimeter bolts, and there's a bolt and then a nut on the bottom of it, so make sure you hold that. And then after that, the fan shroud will actually just completely come off. But we're gonna remove the rest of our hoses. We've got the upper radiator hose right here to remove. There's the drain valve over there you could have used, but I didn't. The power steering is in the way. Over here, you're gonna have, come over here, you're gonna have to undo this overflow tube. You're gonna have to undo the heater core tube. There's a transmission line down here because this is an automatic transmission. If you look right underneath that AC line, there's going to be a transmission line there. I'll let you know what bolt size that, or what size wrench that is. And then there's one more tube on the bottom that also runs for the transmission. So we're gonna undo all those and then see if we can slide the radiator out.
Tilt it backwards.
There you go. Yeah, slide that over and then I'll just dump it. Oh, hopefully it shouldn't be too much. Oh, you good. Transmission fluid. Alright. So, this is the old radiator. All that I've got left to do is I'm going to transfer over this little plug. This is for my transmission line. I'm going to unbolt it, put it on the new one if everything lines up, and then we'll just slide the new one in. All right, so here's the new radiator, obviously. It's the old one. We're just going to match it up here. All the holes look like they line up, same size. They look like they're the same thread. We'll find out. So right now I'm gonna take this out and we'll see if this threads in here. If it does, I got a pretty good feeling that that transmission upper line is gonna thread into there easily. This is the upper radiator hose over there, and that looks the same size. This is the drain valve over here, the little petcock. And I just took it out. I'm gonna wrap it with some Teflon tape, just to hopefully, it shouldn't have any sealing issues. This is a rubber little gasket inside of here on the female part of the threads. So I don't think we're gonna have any issues regardless, but I don't wanna do this when the radiator is installed and it's a pain underneath the truck. So I don't think that's gonna leak. We'll go ahead and wrap Teflon tape around these parts as well, all the male parts, just so that they thread in there properly and we don't have any leaks. At least that's the idea. So stay tuned for the next part. So we just had the brackets switched. It looks like the previous owner, when I bought it, had these on backwards. I know just yesterday I had actually hammered in the other one so that I could clear the radiator cap to put it on. And that's when I found out it was still leaking through the pinholes after I did the JB weld. And today it wasn't quite going in right. And lucky Josh was over there saying something doesn't add up.
On the real show.
So yeah, he's actually got a podcast that he does right now here in San Jose. So I'll link it in the description as well, but tell him a little bit about it, Josh. Tell him a little bit about it.
So we're on Facebook, Instagram, and also on iTunes and SoundCloud. It's just a podcast about anything and everything. I'm gonna have Nate on probably within the week or something like that, whenever he has free time. And I would say I try to get a range of different guests talking about a range of different issues, whether it's current events, sports, or pretty much anything that's on your mind, like this hot ass weather. So that's what it is.
So check it out sometime. I'll put the link in the description. You guys are on what? Facebook, Instagram?
Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, and iTunes at On The Real The Show.
Right on.
All one word.
Okay, we're just gonna add the new coolant. We got the radiator battened down, zip tie magic. We got us going to hold the shroud on. Everything's hooked back up. We're just gonna add some fluid, check for leaks, and we're doing 50-50 coolant with distilled water. I don't pre-mix them. I just kind of pour in a bunch of one, then pour in a bunch of the other. I'll let the water pump circulate it. Once it gets moving. So we've got no leaks. We're just kind of burping the system right now, getting all the air out. All right, we're pretty much done here. The truck is staying at about 185, the temperature. What I was saying, I don't know if you could hear me, but basically we got the truck running. We filled it up as much as we could before, and we got it running, had it circulating, and this truck is still cool. You look at the temperature gauge, once it gets above, I'm assuming GM, this has a 195 thermostat, which means the thermostat right over here in the thermostat housing where it sits, that means when the water at that area gets to the temperature of 195, that thermostat has a spring in there. It's gonna open up and let the water circulate through the engine and cool it down. So you gotta wait until you get the truck warm enough till it opens up that thermostat, circulates through the engine, because your water level in the radiator is gonna drop right when that happens. So that's what we were waiting for. It dropped, we got it up to about 210, it dropped. Then we filled up the water one more time, and then we put the cap on and screwed it on tight. We don't have any holes here, we don't have any leaks on any of our connections, so I'm gonna add maybe 1/4 of a quart, if that, of transmission fluid to it when I get a second here, because we lost a little bit out of those transmission cooler lines. Other than that, zip tie magic, the shroud's back on, the radiator's in place, and it's not leaking anymore, so that's a wrap. We're gonna go have some Natty Light. That's how you end it. That's how you end it.